document. Is everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Yes.
And before we get started, we just want to let you guys know that these are the topics that Rachel and I have been hearing you all talk about. By no means are you required to come up with ideas around all these topics. And even if one of you doesn't like the topic or doesn't really want it up there, we're still going to go ahead and throw it up there, because if one person does, it might be something that later you all will want to discuss. But just because it's up on this list does not mean you're married to it, and by no means are you limited to the things that are on here, or are you forced to talk about everything that's on this list. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the first topic that we heard you all discussing was the topic of dogs. For you, Gus, it sounds like you're feeling burdened and inconvenienced around the noise with the dog, and feeling like confused and mystified as to why the dog is outside, and looking for some collaboration and flexibility around the dog's freedom in the yard, and wanting consideration from your neighbor, and feeling like concern for your family's health around their sleep schedule, and wanting to protect your newborn baby. Is that right for you, Gus?
That's correct. That dog is just a constant aggravation for me, especially at night.
Okay, so it sounds like feeling fed up and aggravated. Is that right?
To say the least, yes.
Okay, thanks, Gus. And for you, Justine, around the dog, it sounds like you were feeling overwhelmed and blindsided by your dog's behavior, and like feeling protective over your dog and loving towards him, and wanting to provide a safe and freedom and safe and flexible home for him, and looking for some understanding and like care from Gus, and like wanting to come up with ideas that gives your dog the freedom that you're looking for. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you guys were able to come up with ideas around, nope, that's not what I say as a mediator, scratch that. Okay, so do you both think that that dogs is something that you guys want up there on the topics list if you came up with solutions around dogs?
Definitely is a topic I want to discuss.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
Oh, and how about for you, Justine? Did you? Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. So another topic that we heard you all discussing was lights. For you, Justine, it sounded like you're feeling retaliated against with the lights, and looking for a schedule around when and how the lights would be turned on. Is that right?
Yes. Okay.
And for you guys, it sounded like you're feeling justified when it comes to the lights, and ownership over your own property, and looking to be left alone around the lights is something that's important to you. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So do you think lights is something that you might want to come up with ideas around?
We can talk about it.
Okay.
And then the third topic that we heard you all discussing was activities. For you, Gus, it sounded like you were feeling dismissed and hurt around activities and looking for inclusion. Is that right?
Yeah, because I mean, it's just a major inconvenience with her and that dog. I just want some resolution here.
Okay, so it sounds like a sense of urgency right now to get to the solution part of the mediation. Is that right?
Very much so, yes.
Okay. And for you, Justine, around activities, it sounded like you were feeling offended and confused. Is that right?
Yes.
So is activities something you both would want to come up with solutions around?
That's great.
Justine, I'm seeing you shaking your head. Can you tell us more about that?
I was looking for activities with the dogs because he had a dog, but it seems like he has closed himself off and don't want to be bothered with my dog. So I'm not really keen on it, but you can listen if you want to.
So Justine, is that about feeling rejected around the dogs playing together?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, right now we're just gonna put topics up that if one of you agrees to it, we'll throw it up there, but you're not required to come up with solutions to activities if you don't want to. So for right now, we're just going to go ahead and throw it up there on the topics list. And you're not like forced to agree or say anything around activities that you wouldn't want to. Does that work?
That works.
How about for you, Justine?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so
I got
that
a
was all.
doorbell ringing.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. I got a doorbell ringing. Give me 1 second.
So right now, while Justine's off the camera, we're all just going to pause and make sure that we don't continue without her, okay?
Okay.
I can't tell if this is real life or she won't.
Yeah, so you don't want to go into community conferencing with Gus, right?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm the Amazon queen.
That's okay. Thanks for coming back.
Okay, so the topics that are listed right now are dogs, lights, and activities. If you all came up with solutions around these topics, do you feel like you would have an agreement that both of you liked and that would resolve your conflict?
Activities would solve my issues.
Okay, so is that about like looking to start with the brainstorm on activities?
I would like to start the brainstorm. If we're gonna brainstorm anything, is about the dog.
Okay.
Justine, what about for you? If you and Gus were to come up with solutions to dogs, lights, and activities, do you believe that your conflict would be resolved?
I guess.
Okay.
I just don't understand why he wants to start with dogs when he has a dog himself. But fine.
My dog is well behaved. He don't bark all night.
Okay, so it sounds like for you, Justine, feeling confused around the topic of dogs, and for you, Gus, it sounds like feeling inconvenienced around dogs. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, and so under dogs, you guys will have the opportunity to talk about both of your dogs if that's what you would like to do. So that would be an opportunity to talk about the resolution that you're both looking for. And it would get you, Gus, the consideration and quiet that you're looking for. And Justine, it would be an opportunity for you to get the flexibility and understanding that you've been looking for around the dogs.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to move into step 4, which is the brainstorming step. The way this is going to work is that we're going to do one topic at a time. That'll be a topic of you all's choosing. And we'll ask you to list every single idea that you can think of around all of the topics. What we're going to do is type up every idea that we hear. Just listing an idea doesn't necessarily mean that you've agreed to it. It's just a complete brain dump of everything that you can think of. Once you've exhausted all your ideas, we'll go back and read them to you and ask where there might be some quick areas of agreement and which ideas might need some more work. How does that sound?
That's good.
Okay.
Okay. Which topic would you like to start with?
Dogs.
And how's that for you, Justine?
It's fine.
Okay. All right.
Can everybody see? Is the font an okay size for everybody? Can everybody see the screen well?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so what are all of the ideas that you have around dogs?
One for me is to have him one of those silent collars to make them stop barking. Hopefully, I would think she would get a collar and for the dog to start barking, especially at night. It's crazy. My infant can't sleep because of that dog barking. That dog come out of that doggy door and just, I don't care what happens outside, the leaf could fall off a tree and the dog runs out, start barking. It's irritating.
So Gus, it sounds like for you looking for some ideas to get some like control and supervision over the dog. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And what ideas do you have that could get you that supervision that you're looking for?
One is the collar. Two, get rid of that doggy door so the dog won't come out in the yard. If the dog stays inside the house and barks all night in her house, that's cool. We can't hear it so much.
I am not going to get a collar, a sonic collar for my dog. I think that's cruel. And as far as the doggy door, I think that my dog should have the freedom to come in and out of his own house without being confined to a certain time of day or night.
So this is my problem. You consider your dog more so than my infant getting sleep at night when your dog just acts a fool all night long because it don't like the way the wind blows. See, that's the inconsideration I'm just tired of. The dog gets more consideration than my peace of mind and my family.
I
The
think it's more
door,
your peace of mind because I don't see too many infants sleeping all night long. So you need to consider that it might be your lack of rest and
well,
not
you,
my dog.
well, you can't see
So
infants in someone else's house anyway because you don't live with them. You, if my child can sleep all night if it wasn't for your dog barking all night just because it wants to. So that's
So,
being inconsiderate. You don't live in my house.
so I just want to touch base with what I hear going on for everybody. And Gus, I'm going to talk to you first because I heard you speaking first, and then Justine, I'm going to capture you as well. It sounded like for you, Gus, like feeling disgusted and looking for human consideration around the dogs. Is that right?
That's right. Just consideration the a neighborly situation. I have an infant that needs sleep, and I need sleep because I got to work, and so does my wife. But
And
if
so
we're up all night with the baby because of her dog, I'm not getting any consideration.
feeling exhausted as well. And for you, Justine, I heard you feeling burdened and misunderstood around the dog. And I just wanted to remind you all that right now we're in step 4. So during step 2, you all had the opportunity to talk about what's been going on. And now we've moved into step 4, which is trying to focus on the future and trying to come up with ideas that would get you, Gus, the sleep and consideration that you're looking for, and that Justine would get you the flexibility and understanding that you've been looking for. So what ideas do you guys have that would get you both what you're looking for as it relates to the dogs?
For me, if she would just keep it, I don't care how she does it, but she needs to keep a dog quiet, especially at night. And if she can't, she can house them in a dog pound or somewhere. I don't care other than next door out in the yard at 1 o'clock in the morning barking because the moon is too bright, whatever.
I think I heard him say dog pound. Are you actually saying you want me to put my dog in a pound at night so you can get rest?
I said dog pound, yes. You can put him in the dog pound, you can put him in someone else's house, but away from my house so he don't, since you want him to roam the yard at any time, it just impedes on my peace of mind and peace and tranquility and my daughter's because she can't sleep. And this is getting
No one
ridiculous.
ever said anything when your dogs would be out and barking. And I just want you to understand that this is a process for me. It's a new dog, and I am training the dog just like you're trying to train your daughter to sleep certain hours at night. And so, what I would say to that is that have some understanding about what's going on with the dog, and the dog does not roam out all hours of the night. There might be certain times of the evening that the dog goes out, but it's not out barking all night long. So if the dog, I will say if the dog is out past 11 o'clock, yes, I will make sure that the dog doesn't go out past 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, if you can assure me that the dog is not outside barking and howling at the moon in late hours or wee hours of the morning, we can, I'll consider that. But right now, because you're sleeping in your bed and your dog's outside, I'm up with my child because of your dog. So it is all times of the night. But if you're willing to make sure that dog's not outside and kept in your house past 11 o'clock, I would really appreciate that.
I will do my best, but also what you have to keep in mind is that everybody has to adapt to the situation, even your daughter, and
Oh
get
no.
used to the dog barking at night.
Now how you
So
gonna
that is just a norm.
And that's not a norm. You can't expect someone's infant to adjust to a dog barking. That's a
Infants
foreign.
adjust to all types of noises. It's just a matter of being familiar with the sound and adapting to it.
No, I'm sorry. I disagree with that.
You're saying your dogs don't bark at night. You're saying that your dogs don't do anything past a certain time because you have an infant in the house.
Exactly. My dogs are well trained. I train them well. However, before I get, I like to go back to what you were saying, that you would make sure that dog is not out in the yard past 11 p.m. Let's stick with that, because you know what? Everything else after you said that about my daughter have to get used to dogs barking, that really, no. My daughter have to get used to a dog barking.
She has to get used to all other sounds, so it's something that she probably need to adapt to. And since you're bragging about you have trained your dogs well, you have never offered any pointers on how I could train my dog. So I suggest that you help me with training my dog.
Well, you know what? I would on weekends, but during the week I can't afford to, because I got work and then come home and deal with my daughter half the night and then my own work. But maybe on the weekend I may consider that, if it's going to keep your dog from barking. But let's focus on you keeping your dog inside the house past 11.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I said I will try. And then the whole point is dogs do bark. It's because you have two dogs, you do know that, right?
Yeah, I do know they do bark, but however, you don't have an infant in your house, and if the tables were turned, I would expect you to have. You would feel the same way I do.
So
I wouldn't take it to this level.
I just need to touch base with my co-mediator real quick. And before I do that, I'm going to touch base with each of you as well. It sounded like for you, Justine, looking for realistic expectations around the noises that dogs make, and feeling like distrustful of the training of Gus's dogs, and looking for help and guidance from Gus as well. Is that right?
Yeah, he appears to be an expert talking about he trained his dog, so give me some pointers.
And for you, Gus, it sounds like you're feeling proud of your dogs and your capabilities of training your dogs. Is that right?
Yep, because they're well behaved.
Okay, and I just need to touch base with my co real quick. Rachel, I think I heard an idea a while back that wasn't captured. I heard an idea that Justine said that she'll do her best.
Okay.
All right, thank you all. Sorry about that. I didn't. So around this idea, Gus, I heard you feeling agreeable and liking the idea around Justine's dog not being out after 11 p.m. And Justine, it sounded like you were feeling agreeable as well around that. And I heard some hesitation and challenges around that. So what ideas do you guys have in order to make, or what ideas do you guys have around Justine's dog being in after 11 p.m.?
Well, it's on Justine to make sure her dog's in the house after 11 p.m. I mean, the whole neighborhood is trying to rest. I don't see anybody up and about after 11 p.m. In our cul-de-sac, people work, so pretty much are in the bed sometimes before 11 o'clock. But if she exercised that diligently to keep the dog inside the house at 11 or even before 11, so all the noise that her dog makes is only in her house.
Like I said, I will try. Dogs don't have a time clock. There might be times after 11 that the dog will want to go out, have to go out. I have no control of that. If the dog have to go out, I'm not going to say you can't go out because it's 11 o'clock or after 11. That's impossible.
Well, that comes with training the dog to go and do its business at a certain hour at a time. I've seen it done. I know it's done. So if you train your dog properly to do what it has to do before 11 o'clock, that's no problem. And that also comes with feeding, how and when you feed your dog. So there won't be no issues at 11 o'clock or beyond.
Okay, so you're such an expert on what should be done with a dog. It's almost like me coming to you telling you what you should do with your daughter at certain times a day. I find that very offensive. I say if you're that much of an expert, then you could assist with training the dog.
Well, that what I would consider only on weekends, but at this point, I have to take care of my family. And one of those things is making sure I work and my daughter's taken care of and try to get some rest. Also, my wife.
Okay, so Justine, it sounds like you're feeling offended at some of the suggestions, and again, looking for those realistic expectations of what you can and can't do with your dog. Is that right?
Yes, and like I said earlier, I'm just looking for him to understand this is a new dog. I got the dog shortly after my husband passed away, and I'm learning how to deal with the dog. I don't need anyone to put me down on how I'm dealing with the dog. So that's just it. I mean, it's like me telling him how to raise his daughter or what time to put her to bed. So as far as I'm concerned, those are all the ideas I have. He can keep going on and on. I'm done with this whole topic.
Okay, and for you, Gus, it sounded like having well-trained dogs is something that's important to you, as well as having high expectations for what a dog is capable of doing. Is that right?
Yes, and let me say this: I would like for her to have a quiet dog, and if training is the stimulus to that, great. I'm more concerned with her dog being quiet than anything else throughout the night.
Okay, Justine, I think I heard you say that's all the ideas that you had. Gus, did you have any other ideas around the topic of dogs?
No, she can. Yeah, I got one. She can send her dog away to be trained instead of me trying to train him on weekends. She can pay for a trainer at another location to train her dog to be quiet.
I have one more. Gus can move.
Oh, that's when you can move too. That'll be the major thing you can do. Go to a dog-friendly community where all of y'all can go in the park and play with your poodles and whatever else you do. But my dog is not the focus of my household. My kids are. So if the dog is your focus, great. Go live in a dog community.
Okay,
We
were
can
there
move
any
on.
other, sorry, Justine, I interrupted you.
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay, were there any other ideas around the topics of dogs? The topic of dogs?
Nope, not for me.
Okay.
Okay. So the next step in the brainstorming process is reading you out all the ideas and seeing which ideas there's like some quick agreement or both of you like. All right, so we'll read out all of the ideas to you, starting from the top.
So I just wanted to provide a little clarity. Like once Rachel's done going over the list of what you all have come up with, just feel free to start saying which ones you like. We're not going to go through them like one by one, and you guys are as welcome to speak up around the ones that you like once Rachel's done reading the list. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, Justine uses a sonic collar on her dog. Justine removes the doggy door. Justine doesn't get a sonic collar. Justine allows her dog to have freedom. Justine keeps her dog quiet. Justine keeps her dog quiet at night. Justine houses her dog in the pound. Justine puts her dog in someone else's house. Justine keeps her dog away from Gus's house. Gus has understanding about Justine's situation. Justine ensures her dog does not go out past 11 p.m. Gus
Right there.
adapts.
Stop. You can stop right there. Justine ensures her dog doesn't go out past 11 p.m.
So it sounds like you like that idea. Is that right?
I love that idea.
Okay. And Justine, what are your thoughts on that idea?
I said I will try.
We needed more than trying. Close
Okay.
up,
I
close up
think
that doggy door, and that would be an excellent trying effort.
okay. So it sounds like there are. Okay, so for ideas where one person likes the idea and one person, or it might need some more work, we will italicize the idea, and ideas that both people agree to, we'll highlight in yellow, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll come back to all the italicized ones. And Justine, I think I heard you say that you would try to keep your dog in past 11 p.m. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, and that idea is over here. Gus, what are your thoughts on that idea?
I don't like the word try because that means you're going to it doesn't seem you're going to give a great effort.
No, it proves that I'm giving an effort. It's not like I'm gonna be lax with it. I will try.
Mm.
So it sounds like for you, Justine, like feeling willing and open and looking for some flexibility around the wording with the idea. And for you, Gus, it sounds like you're looking for like absolute change and reassurance around the idea.
Exactly.
And right now, Rachel's just reading through these ideas and she's gonna italicize the ones that one of you might like and the other one might not. And we're gonna have an opportunity later in the mediation to go back and get all the details you all are looking for. And for any of the italicized ideas, if any of the italicized ideas, you all will have the opportunity to rework them and reword them in a way that you both could feel comfortable agreeing to. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
But right now, Rachel's just going to finish reading that list, and then we're going to go back and ask you all to try to acknowledge the ones that there's quick agreement around, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we were at Gus adapts to the situation. Gus gets used to the dog barking at night. Gus gets his daughter to adjust to the dog barking at night. Gus offers Justine pointers on how to train her dog. Gus offers Justine pointers on how to train her dog on the weekends. Justine does her best. Justine exercises diligence in keeping her dog inside past 11 p.m. Justine tries to keep her dog in past 11 p.m. Justine takes her dog out past 11 p.m. if necessary. Justine trains her dog to do his business at a certain hour of the day. Gus assists with training the dog. Justine has a quiet dog. Justine sends her dog away to be trained. Justine pays for a trainer at another location. Gus moves. Justine moves. Justine moves to a dog-friendly community. All right, so of all the ideas that were just read, which ones do you like?
I'm still focused on past 11 p.m. That she keeps the dog in past 11 p.m. and that she gets training for her dog.
Justine, how do you feel about that idea?
What, training for the dog?
Yes.
I don't mind getting training for the dog, and since the expert refused to help or give pointers, I will pay to get my dog trained.
Okay, cool. That's
Okay, so it sounds like you both
But
agree
not
on that
at
idea?
another location.
Oh, okay.
I will get my dog trained at a time that is going to keep the dog with me if it means being trained during the day.
I can't dictate when you get the dog trained, but however,
You're the one who said at another location.
I said another location, but I didn't say where. I didn't say what time. If it's during the day, that's great. That he's able to keep quiet at night, that's excellent. So whether it's in your house, in your yard, but come nightfall, when everybody's trying to get to sleep, then if the byproduct of him being trained during the day is a quiet night, I'm all for it. I don't care where it's at.
So it sounds like you both agreed to that new idea of Justine getting her dog trained at a time when she can be there with him. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Were there other ideas that you liked? Sorry, I can scroll around as necessary.
No, there's nothing else that I see that I like. The only one, if all else fails, she can get one of those doggy collars that shocks the dog. But
No.
I'm sure.
No. Do you have one on your dog? No.
I have one, and that's how they get trained.
I'm not doing that. That is cruel.
Well, that
I
would be the
refuse.
last.
No.
That
No.
would be the last result.
No.
Okay.
So it sounds like for you, Justine, like feeling resolute around that idea and unwilling to use the sonic collar on your dog. Is that right?
That's right. No one would tell him to put something like that on his daughter if she's screaming and crying all day and all night.
My daughter's not an animal. That's why.
So it sounds like for you, Justine, looking for like humane discipline for the dog, is that right?
Right.
And then for you, Gus, it sounded like you were looking for alternative ideas around how to keep the dog quiet, and looking for priority of your daughter. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. Gus, I think I heard you say there weren't any other ideas that you liked. How about for you, Justine?
I think that's about it. Because he's saying keep the dogs away from his house. We live next door. That is impossible. So those are the only two that I see.
Okay. So the ideas that we've italicized, so like that might need some more work, or that one person liked and one person didn't, are Justine uses a sonic collar on her dog. Justine doesn't get a sonic collar. Justine ensures her dog does not go out past 11 p.m. Justine tries to keep her dog in past 11 p.m. And then, I think Justine pays for a trainer at another location. Was that resolved with Justine gets her dog trained at a time when she can be there? Okay. All right. So around the idea, Justine ensures her dog does not go out past 11 p.m. Gus, I think that was an idea that you liked. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then Justine, what are your concerns with this idea?
There's no guarantee. Like I said, I don't know. The dog could be sick and need to go outside. I don't want to be committed to a certain time frame because you just don't know.
So it sounds like for you, Justine, like feeling willing to try at that idea and looking for exceptions to that rule. Is that right? Like you had mentioned in case the dog gets sick, and like flexibility.
Exactly. And it seems like because he's such a hard-headed man that he wants to stick to 11 o'clock.
And so what ideas do you guys have around this specific idea of 11 p.m. that could get you, Justine, the flexibility that you're looking for, and you, Gus, the consistency that you're looking for?
Well, for me, I got an easy solution for the 11 o'clock issue, but I don't think it would be in Justine's liking. However, dog getting sick, dog usually don't run outside to get sick. That's, dogs get sick wherever they are. And so they're in the house, they're going to get sick in the house. So if she can do something about that doggy door, because that's the only way that dog gets out is through that doggy door that has free exit and access. So keeping that dog inside the house past 11 o'clock is the issue that I would like to resolve, because the dog can bark all he wants in her house and get sick all he wants in her house. My
I'm
daughter
not getting rid of the doggy door.
well, we got an issue.
And since you say dogs can be trained, I can train a dog not to go out the door, but I'm not going to get rid of the doggy door.
Okay, well, if you can train the dog not to use the doggy door past 11 o'clock, I'm good.
Or I could even lock the doggy door. By 11 o'clock, I'm going to bed, so I can lock the doggy door, but I'm not getting rid of the door.
And see, now that would be great if you lock the door so she couldn't get out past 11 o'clock. That would make me ecstatic. Then that dog would not be coming out in the yard barking all the time. So locking the doggy door would be great for me.
So it sounds like there's some agreement there.
Yep. Locking the door.
Okay. And Justine and Gus, do you think that this idea of locking the doggy door at 11 p.m. Resolves the issue or resolves the concerns around the idea from earlier? Justine ensures her dog does not go out past 11 p.m.
Yeah.
For me, it does, yes.
Okay. Were there any other ideas that you had or any other ideas that you liked before we go on to get details?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So it looks like you all agreed on two things. Justine gets her dog trained at a time when she can be there with him. Do you need any details on that idea, like how or when that might happen?
Are you asking me?
For both of you.
For me, I know that this is new to me. I did plan on getting the dog trained. I will not send the dog away to get trained. I don't think it needs any more detail. The dog will be trained.
I would agree that I don't need any details in reference to her getting the dog trained, as long as she gets the dog trained. And that suit me fine. Like I said, the end product should be a quiet night. And quiet night also means for me, and I'm looking at what she says she'll do is lock that doggy door. So that dog, if the dog's in her house barking and getting sick, then I got a quiet night because I won't hear it as much.
Okay, so for you guys, it sounds like feeling satisfied with these ideas and reassured, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So around the idea, Justine locks the doggy door at 11 p.m. Are there any details that you needed?
Nope. I would take her at her word. They should lock the door at 11, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And how about for you, Justine?
I'm fine.
Okay. Do you see any challenges to these ideas?
The only challenge is if she forgets to lock the door.
And so do you guys have any ideas with that potential challenge around forgetting? Do you guys have any ideas to resolve that concern?
You know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Justine.
I just believe that I said I would do it. People do forget. And it sounds like he wants some perfection or consistency with that. But also, as I said in the beginning, have some understanding to the situation. The same way he has a newborn, I have a new dog. And it's a new situation for both of us. So have some understanding.
I can understand people forget, but as long as it's not a constant forgetfulness.
Okay, so Gus, it sounds like willing to be understanding and looking at boundaries around if there are instances of the door not being locked. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So with the two ideas that you all agreed to, do you think that if these were implemented, that the topic of dogs would be resolved?
For me, it would be.
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss anything? Okay.
So, well, let's do it. So with these ideas that you all have come up with, as you can see, like Rachel has these typed up right now. Rachel will be able to put these onto our letterhead where you all will have the opportunity to sign it through Adobe Sign. Is that something that you guys are looking for, like a signed agreement?
Wasn't there a third topic here?
Yes, Jay, we did it.
We
did
finished
it,
here.
Jay.
We finished.
Thank you.
So do you guys want a signed agreement? You don't have to sign it if you don't want to. We could also just email or mail these ideas to you, but do you guys want a signed one as well?
I do.
And what about for you, Justine?
I'm thinking because you said earlier that it may be binding if we sign an agreement.
So it wouldn't be binding just by signing it because we are not authority figures and we don't, what's the word I'm looking for, Rachel? We don't
Enforce.
We don't enforce the agreement. It would only become binding if you all decided to get it seen by a judge and for them to make it a binding contract. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So Justine, it sounds like around your concern, you were feeling like worried around the enforcement of it. You all could sign it as a way to ensure some accountability, but it still would not be like a legally binding contract unless you got it seen over at the courts. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. It
So-
does.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys both want to sign it. And so we'll type it up onto letterhead, and that will be emailed over to you guys, where you guys can sign it through Adobe Sign. And we keep files for, is it 3
years.
For 3 years. So you guys can reopen a case with us at any time. And it continues to be provided to you at no cost. And if there doesn't end up having any future issues around these or the ideas or any new ideas, you would be able to continue to utilize mediation.
Okay.
So at the after this, once we all sign off, you'll be receiving an email for the
With our evaluation form on it. That is a survey that is online. It's a Google survey. It takes like 3 minutes to complete. It helps us secure future funding and improve our services. So we want to know if there's any suggestions that you have, if you would be willing to do that. Otherwise, I think we are all good to sign off.
Okay.
Thank you for using mediation today. Okay, don't actually sign off, Sheila and Gus, or
Okay.
Sheila and Jen. All right, we want to bring everybody back
Yeah, everyone, if you want to turn your videos back on.
and unpin everybody.
Yeah,
Sheila and
unpin.
Jay, can you change your names back to your real names?
What do you think? Should I keep it recording to hear the feedback or stop?
definitely,
Okay.
yeah. Everybody come back. Also, Sheila and Jay, thank you for being our role players. You guys.
That was
were
very
wonderful.
convincing.
Yes, very good. Jay, was this a real life scenario for you, Jay?
No.
You seemed very upset, and I loved it. Will you change it?
And he was dictating to his neighbor. I'm like, are you the mayor of the cul-de-sac?
I was also just loving envisioning you, Sheila, because I know Sheila doesn't give two shits about any dogs, so you're probably like, I don't care.
Dogs. I just don't want them where I have to walk them and all that other stuff. I love dogs. I just don't want one.
Oh, Sadia, hi.
Hi.
When did you
Yes,
join
thank
Sadia?
Thank you. As they were going back and forth about the dog and you locking the door, and I don't
Okay,
want the dog. Yeah, no, the whole 9 yards.
Should we?
It was very convincing.
Should we model mediator feedback? Do you, because really what would happen after brainstorming and after everyone leaves is mediator feedback would happen still on the screen. Rachel and I can model that if you guys want to, but we don't have to. Did you want to see that modeled?
No, because I have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't seem like anybody wanted that. Is that right?
And Sheila, you had a question?
Okay, Sheila.
Yeah,
what's your
because
question?
I'm looking at my notes, I got my famous little manual that's marked up.
Right.
And I thought we always were supposed to make sure that both parties agreed on the topic, not just one.
I don't think that's
That's not how I got
necessarily
trained.
true. They have to both agree to brainstorm it.
Okay.
But it can be listed if anyone wants it as a topic, and then it can come as a topic of conversation about like what their concerns are, as listing that as a topic, or like what they're looking for.
Okay. Just wanted some clarification on that.
No, that's a good question. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know how detrimental it would be one way or the other, as long as mediators are capturing that it's something that's been talked about. Does that make sense? I think it's better to have it up there and have that visual aid of all the different topics, especially because I've seen it happen where people are resistant to one of the topics, so we brainstorm other topics, but then once they see what mediation brainstorm looks like, they then become agreeable to coming up with solutions to that additional topic.
Okay.
Yeah, Leah, I wonder if what happens with with an agreement? We didn't really go to that stage, and I'd be really interested to know, at least maybe tell us about it. What do you do about drawing up and signing an agreement?
So it's identical to making an agreement for face-to-face mediation. It just goes through the e-signature, the same way that we sign the consent form electronically. Is that what you're asking? Did you want
Yes,
to
yeah. So you have a new format that you put up, and then you just put these 2 points that you have?
No, it's the same format as any agreement that we would make and print out for people.
Mhm.
It just has, I just look at it in the PDF viewer that AACRC uses, and then we can send it to people's email addresses to sign that way. But it looks the same as a regular agreement for face-to-face.
Okay, so it's enough for them to know that just these 2 points they've agreed on, and that's going to be the operational part of the agreement. I mean, there are other parts of the agreement, the actual names, the addresses, the confirmation of kids, if it's parenting plan, this kind of stuff.
So
Wait,
if
wait.
those things, yes, when Rachel would be typing up the agreement for them to sign electronically, it would be done just like any other agreement where it's going to have the date and the names and the space for them to sign. It's just not happening in person.
Okay.
The agreement doesn't get put up on the Zoom screen.
No.
No, because in our
Yeah.
face-to-face mediations,
Well,
that
that's what I'm
almost
trying to
never happens in that
Yeah.
first session.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to emphasize. You don't have to see the agreement on the Zoom screen. You just do everything as normal process.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. Just like in face-to-face mediation, they're not agreeing. Their visual aid is the brainstorm notes that are circled.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Phil?
It does, yeah. I mean, I think in actual mediation, very often, you do finish this part of the mediation. You ask them to wait a minute. Somebody goes out, types up the agreement, and brings it right in the same session. But I guess you don't do that here.
So, right. Regardless of it being in the same like session, I would still have to send it out to them, not through the mediation, right? It would have to come to their email addresses. So they would be looking at it separately from the session.
Okay, fine, thanks.
So it'll be similar to the consent to mediate. You're
Yeah,
sending
just
it
like
out, they sign it, you will get the notification that it has been signed and that it's a signed agreement between the
Mhm.
parties.
Yeah, correct. And to
I
answer your
don't want to
question,
take
Phil,
it, I'm sorry.
oh no, sorry. To answer your question, let's say that people came to mediation and they agreed on their points in 30 minutes, right? That could be an opportunity where I would type it up and send it out while they're sitting there, if that's what they wanted, right? If we
Mhm.
wanted to go on a break for 10 minutes, I could send it to them and be like, bring them back from the waiting room and say, did you receive the agreement? You can sign it now if you want. You can look over it with an attorney if you want and come back, that kind of thing.
So what I'm hearing is that the agreement to mediate is settled before we begin that online session. Is that right?
It depends. Yes. So part of the screening tool when I'm doing intakes for people is to make sure that they're like technologically proficient and that we believe that they're able to like read and understand material. And we do send it to people in advance and ask them if they can or want to look over the consent form in advance and sign it that way. But that's not a requirement. There's a lot of times in sessions, remote, in like Zoom sessions, where people do not sign the consent form in advance, and we do read it to them out loud.
And Phil, do you remember that after the Zoom training, do you remember that mediator checklist we sent out?
Yep.
It's on the mediator checklist on the prep part, it says to verify with Rachel, because she's the one that will have the information, whether or, sorry, my dog just like fell over, whether or not the participants have signed it in advance. So that's on that mediator checklist.
Great.
Cool. Were there other questions?
Or comments, concerns about what you saw?
Feedback?
Yes, feedback. In case anyone's wondering, I haven't mediated in months, so that was
You did a great job.
that was rusty. Chris.
Oh man, it impressed me. It didn't sound very rusty at all. It sounded very smooth.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
good.
curious, when you're capturing all of the solutions, some of them seem so vague, particularly the one about Justine will try her best. And
Right.
you kind of circled back to that, but would you have thought about probing that a little bit more at the time and go, what do you mean by doing her best? Because that just seemed really, it could
Yeah.
encompass so much.
That's a great question, Chris. So first things first, we're still going to capture it. Even if it seems vague, we obviously capture it. Now, Gus and Justine had continued to list ideas, and we would never interrupt participants, especially if they're coming up with ideas. So if Justine put it out in the atmosphere that she's going to try her best, The mediator is going to capture that regardless. And then if it seems appropriate and if the opportunity arises, we can circle back to it. And you're exactly right. We would say something like, so around this idea of Justine trying her best, what does that look like? What do you mean when you say Justine tries her best? It didn't seem appropriate for what was happening in this situation, especially because I think it got captured under that conversation around Gus wanting it to say ensures that the dog won't be out past 11 versus Sheila saying, or Justine saying she'll try. But that's a great observation, and I really appreciate that you caught on to that. And yes, if the opportunity makes sense, you would circle back around and ask for those details. Does that answer your question? Did you want to add anything?
Rachel caught that because I did say, she said she would try, and then Rachel went down and changed the verbiage on it. On that.
Oh, that was actually, I didn't catch it. It was Leah that caught it. What I made a mistake on was I wrote Justine will try her best, which is agreement language. And I caught that as I was reading it. So I changed it from Justine will try her best to Justine tries her best.
Okay.
Yeah, never use will in the
Yes.
brainstorming.
I see a Chris Chappell's hand.
Great job, everybody. One thing that seemed to come up was they were evaluating ideas at the beginning of the brainstorm, and nothing was said about that. Was it just your sense that they were still in the flow of generating ideas and it wasn't useful to say we're not going to evaluate at this stage, we're just going to see what comes up?
So are you referring to the part where they were saying like this was about like the caller and she was like, I'm not going to do that, you should do that kind of thing? Or
I don't remember what it was specifically about, but it like they each had one where they were just like, dismissing or putting down an idea the other one came up with. And I'm sorry, I didn't take notes to see which.
oh no problem.
Was.
So
But just at the point of like how you do it.
Yeah, I think that happens more often than we imagine. Like in the very beginning of brainstorming, especially if it's a particularly adversarial or they are feeling particularly adversarial around a topic. Most participants are just going to like poo-poo the other person's idea, no matter what it is. And I would think that it would interrupt the flow of what's going on for people. If you said, okay, let's take a moment. I heard you go, ugh, at that idea. What did you mean by that? And we didn't need to ask them a question or go on about that particular idea for them to generate other ones as we went.
No, I just meant in terms of process mapping for them.
Okay.
To say at this stage we're just gathering.
Yeah, we could have done
Come
that.
back and evaluate later.
Leah did process map at one of them.
Okay.
I think you did explain that, we're just gathering, all the ideas and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
And you just kept the flow going.
Chris, I really appreciate that observation because I also noticed it right away. And if Jay and Sheila had kept it up, I was going to DM them and tell them to knock it off as participants. But I think you don't want to do that right away, right? Because imagine if you're a participant and you're in this brand new experience. Most people have never been through a mediation, certainly not the type of mediation we do. And you're finally engaged in the resolution portion and the mediator shuts you down.
Back.
But I think it's a really important thing to be keeping track of as a mediator. If you're at like idea 8, 9, and 10 and they're still doing it, I think absolutely, thank you. I think absolutely we would come in as mediators and process map that. But at idea 1 and 2, you want to just kind of organically let them figure it out as well. Because we believe in autonomy so much and our participants are normally pretty amazing. So I think it's definitely really important to make note of it. Maybe like private chat your co. Oh wait, we don't do that, never mind. Or make an eyeball at your co if you're able to. But yeah, I don't think you want to be shutting anyone down right away in the brainstorming stage. But you are correct that should be processed.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, ideas, comments, and feedback for me or Rachel?
Yeah, this is Sandra. Just had a
Hi,
question
Sandra.
about, I noticed when you were starting to read through the ideas, and then there was discussion starting about one of the ideas. So should we encourage your participants to allow the mediator to read through them and then go back?
So So I had originally prefaced it with that we were going to read through, but
Okay.
that part of the mediation where the mediator reads each thing, it's not paramount to the success of the mediation.
Okay.
And it's, again, important to allow the participants to have autonomy over what parts of the mediation that they can have autonomy over. And
Okay.
I think if you remember, I think Rachel like kind of captured those ideas. I think one of us had reflected back, and then I believe I did process map after they had gotten off their chest what they wanted, and then we did continue to list. So that's again another example of making that observation, and eventually, yes, the end goal is to process map, but the first goal is to let the participants talk, reflect to the participants, capture any new ideas that were said, then process map again. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Process mapping is so important, but we want to make sure that when we're process mapping, we're not shutting down or dismissing a participant. It has to be done in a way where it's like, yeah, that's valid, and also knock it off, get back on track. So you want to make sure that validating part's happening first.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. Sadia, your face looks like you're in pain. Do you have a question?
Are you just thinking? Oh, you're muted, Sadia.
Unmute.
Okay, you're good. All right. Sheila, what?
No, I was telling Sadia to unmute.
Also, Sheila, I love you / hate you for the fact that your doorbell rang. That was very organic. That's the type of stuff that's going to happen.
Like every time I do this, something happened. My telephone rang.
I thought it was part of the script.
Oh, it was not.
Rachel and I were looking at each other like, is this real or is this fake?
But yes, that was like a really awesome example of what does happen. Like almost every single time I have a Zoom session, people are very comfortable in their own homes. So they're like, oh no, my pizza's here. And then they just get up and go away. So what Leah did was really good at being like, so just as a reminder, we can't continue the session until Justine comes back.
I do want to say that you're a really fast typist.
Thanks.
I know how to type, but I can't type like that. It's a little intimidating what you were doing.
Aw, thanks. That of all my skills as a mediator, I think that's my best one. Is the typing part. Like, all right, here I go with the ideas.
Rachel's also, I'm sure many of you have mediated with Rachel, but in-person mediation with the brainstorming, Rachel's also a very fast writer as well. So she always gets to do all of that.
So make sure the ideas get caught.
And I want to encourage everybody that's on this screen and that has done the Zoom training and will be doing Zoom mediation, don't rely on necessarily Rachel or whoever the other strong mediator is to do that. I want everyone to become proficient in that type of stuff, because the idea is eventually to go back to the volunteer model. The only reason right now that we have a staff member on the mediations is because this is also new and confusing, and Rachel's extremely good at technology, but I don't want us as a group to rely always on Rachel to be able to be available, because in theory, we might be doing more virtual mediations for a long time.
So is it best to decide in your prep if Rachel is not on the mediation, with your who will be actually typing the brainstorming, who will be sharing the screen for different things, so you have a good flow going into the session. I know when we did the training, you guys have pointed out, make sure that the font is big enough and that you're using columns, but is it also important during your prep before the Zoom mediation, you decide who will run the first brainstorm, and then give your co-mediator time to also adapt to doing a brainstorm with typing?
See, I don't know how to load the documents onto my iPad.
I think, John, we had talked about that because of your technology limitations, you'll just probably never be the person doing that unless you get a different.
I did download the Word app, though.
Oh, okay.
So I do have Word.
But do you have a keyboard with your iPad?
Yeah, it won't be as quick as Rachel's, but
that's okay. So
do it orally too, actually. But,
yeah, you can talk.
But I don't know how to bring those up into the Zoom meeting. Even if I had them, I don't know how to get them on the platform.
Oh, so the sharing, you're not sure how to do the sharing?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had training in that, so I
Okay,
don't.
so I'll send you an email after this training is over, and then you and I can meet separately to work on that for you,
Alright.
so you can practice the screen sharing.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay. So one other thing about the brainstorming, if you aren't like a particularly fast typer, or you are, but you are worried about missing things, that's why we do have a co-mediation model. So if you're the person who's not doing the typing, so Leah wasn't doing the typing, she was still listening for ideas, right? So, and watching as I was typing, and if there was anything I missed, she would remind me. So you can do that with your co-mediator, right, as well. So if they're typing slower and the participants are speaking faster, you can be taking notes on your piece of paper about what's being said. And just say, Leah just yelled from the other room that she wants to add to that. What is it that you wanted to add?
So I was gonna say, sorry, I had to pee. That I tried to make sure to model that. I was actually grateful that Rachel had missed that one idea. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about? I think the idea was that
She tries her best.
yeah, Justine will try her best. Like the worst idea for me to capture, right? But if you guys noticed, I said, I just want to touch in with my co first, but before I do that, I want to capture what I heard you both saying. And again, it's important that we're always reflecting and prioritizing the participants, because it's going to be really unnatural if both participants just said something and I'm like, great, so Rachel, right? So you want to make sure you still reflect whatever it is that they just said. I don't even remember what it was. And then touch base with your co. But I was grateful to be able to model that, but make sure you're not just like interrupting participants and touching base with your co without reflecting. Okay, I need to go.
Okay, and then insofar as taking turns with who does the brainstorming, you can definitely do that. And if you are going to do that, right, so if in the prep period with your code mediator, you decide that you're going to take turns on who does the typing for the brainstorming, you need to be using a shared Google document for the brainstorm that you're both looking at the same time. Because otherwise there's literally no way that would work unless you like really quick email the brainstorm over to your co-mediator and then they pull it up before it's their turn to screen share. So if that's the case, both of you, if you want to take turns, both of you need to be looking at the same Google document. And if you need help doing that, I can help you set that up. But that would be like a requirement. Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure in case you had something
No,
else to
thank
add.
you.
Yes, Chris, Edwards. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't mute. Have you tried the whiteboard in Zoom? There is text annotation and both people can annotate. It just made me think, could that be used to capture the thoughts?
So the whiteboard is fine, but it like kind of sucks. In my own experience, it's really limited. It's kind of like if you were to like type on like Paint. There are challenges with the formatting, and then if you have a brainstorm where lots and lots and lots and lots of ideas are being generated, just like what was happening right now with the topic of dogs, the whiteboard doesn't have.
She just froze. Yeah, extra pages, is that?
Sorry.
Extra pages?
You froze.
Yeah, extra page. Oh, I'm sorry, I froze. It doesn't have any extra pages, or you can't really change the formatting that much. Yeah. But the whiteboard is really good for showing a topics list or the process map if you want to do it that way. It has other uses, just I don't recommend it for brainstorming. Anything else?
Yeah, does anybody have any other comments or thoughts? What time?
4:30, almost 4:30.
We're only at 4:30. You know, we scheduled this for 3 hours because we didn't know how this was going to go.